Right, good morning. I hope everything's working again as intended. As promised, I'm going to walk you through the entire process of me setting up a new project for a new app or to onboard a customer, whatever. The process is nearly identical for AppSource app, like products or projects. So let's get started. I do create all my projects with ALGO. I know there's like Azure DevOps and ALGO, like the two main camps of doing this. And I think that, I mean, you can probably do other stuff and manual stuff and everything, but those are the two main tools. And I'm going with ALGO. And this is the repository. I will put this into the URL, of course. And what this gives you, in case you don't know it yet, a bunch of predefined actions. Basically, you can get started real quick. And I mean, I will show this for you in a minute. Just a few things to get you unstuck with possible problems you might run into. So it's good to know where to go to. First is the usage scenarios, where Freddy created a bunch of scenarios where he walks you through setup of various things. And one thing, it's a little bit hidden, I think, although it's already made a little bit more visible here, is this description, which is the settings markdown file with all the settings you can use in to adjust how the pipelines work for you. So this is the document where I mostly go to and search for settings and read up on settings and figure out how to solve a problem if I run into one. All right, now if you want to create a new project, you need to decide whether you want to do, oh, this one is new actually, whether you want to do PT or AppSource. Okay, and this one is just if you want to fork the actions and want to adjust the actions for your needs. I did not do that yet, and this is really for advanced scenarios. So mostly you want to decide either to use PTE or AppSource, whether you want to do project or a product application. We'll go with PTE for now, because I think this is at least this is the one I use mostly. So you go there, and then you can I think you can click here, but I always do like use this template, create a new repository. Then you need to choose an owner, and my first sample app. Give it a name, something to create a new repository using the template. You can obviously choose the usual things, the settings, and then just click create. And this brings you to a new repository with just one branch and one commit, which is the initial commit, which just brings over everything you need. And then you end up with this. Now from there, you go to actions, and you already see that the initial commit is running. I'm not sure there's anything it will do because there is no code yet, no AL code to compile, but it's still running and checking whether there is something. And I think it will exit really quick because there is no code. Let's just wait for it to finish. Oh, it even tries to start, okay. Not as smart as I thought, but okay. It will fail in a second. And from here, you can use an action to either add an existing app. I never did that actually. Okay, there you need to provide a direct download URL for either an app or a zip file, and then it will create the app from this. Or you can create a new app and then also merge it manually. And that's what I usually do. So you need to give it a name, obviously. This is a new, not a test app, this is a new regular app. How do we call this? Okay, just sample app maybe. Publisher MI. And we'll go with like PTE range 60,800 to 60,900. Doesn't really matter, just need to provide the ID range here with, not with a dash, but with 2 dots. And now this is already the first thing. I want to include sample code for this example because I'm not gonna write any code on this stream. Probably not. Then you can decide whether you want to have a direct commit or not. If you omit this, if you set it to leave it to false, then we'll create a branch and a pull request for you. Otherwise, it will directly commit this onto the branch you're running this on, in this case, the main branch. And this is what I want to do. And then you can also use the GitHub token flow, which is a secret. You can read up on for this in the documentation for the PR and the commit. If your user doesn't have the right access rights or something, I never used this before. It usually just works for me if I do it like this. And then okay, this is still running. Interesting. What is it doing? Probably creating a container. Okay, I don't know. And then this is the create app run, which is just which will commit the files and the project structure and everything to this repository. Just need to wait for it to finish, as it just takes a few moments. In the meantime, now that we have the repository, we can go ahead and clone this. There we go. This will go into repos community. Open. I always like to look at this. I prefer to look at this in VS Code because it's more familiar and easier to read for me because I'm used to it. So now you can see the initial commit created all sorts of files, and in the GitHub workflows folder directory you can see the YAML files which are responsible for the pipelines and everything. If you want to have a look at this, this is where you can find it. And then there is a settings folder in the ALGO folder, and this is also part of the workspace which got created. So there you go, the ALGO folder. And this, like, you can, there are those scripts, I never use them. More importantly for me, this settings file, this is what I regularly use. And then you have some more settings files in the GitHub repository, in the GitHub folder structure. ALGO settings, you rarely ever need to adjust this, if at all. And then this is something you might want to adjust at some point. There are pipelines which you can schedule to regularly test the current, next major, next minor. And if you have specific settings to apply to those pipelines, you need to adjust those files in here. Yeah, and then again, this is the settings. And now let's have a look at where is my commits. This was the initial commit, and now here's the sample app. It adjusted the workspace. It added the sample app which I created through the action into the workspace, and then it also created 3 files, basically just the basic structure which is necessary for an AL project. Now let's and this is, by the way, everything you need to get started. Now this finished. Now you'll see usually I would have expected the CI/CD to kick off of that as well. Not sure why it didn't do that. But that's the basic structure. Now the CI/CD will work. Did that actually succeed already? Oh no, it didn't find any apps, so it didn't proceed with building. All right. Okay, so this is the first step. Usually then I go ahead and also create a test app and maybe a performance test app. And those will be added to the same way that the regular app worked. And once you add the test app, it will also populate those folders. I'll do that now manually, because it will show you the good structure we will end up with. Now, from here, there are a few settings you need to adjust, and I will need to, on the second screen, just look at some existing repositories, because I always need to look up this myself as well. So bear with me a second. All right, for this settings file, there are a few things I usually adjust. You might want to adjust the country. This is the country used for the artifacts when you run the pipeline. So if you're not using a US, you want to adjust this. For projects, AppSource apps, I usually go with W1. So it works correctly. Now, I also on PTEs, I will add this to have my AppSource mandatory cop, AppSource cop mandatory affixes. Just add this like this for now. Then I do a few things with rule sets, and this is the intention for this stream, to show you the rule sets I've been working with. I want to enable the AppSource cop, because by default in PTE projects the AppSource cop is not enabled. And let's create a new rule set. One second. And this is how I do it. You see that my rule set for this project, for this repository, is empty. No rules, no specific rules to this repository. I just need to keep an eye on the various sheds, because I needed the second monitor. Okay. No rules for this specific repository, but it has included rule sets, which is pointing to GitHub. And you can see this is a PTE rule set. Now, I've opened this already. So there is 3 rule sets right now, and I'm thinking about creating a fourth one for test apps. And let's go through them. I have a base rule set. I need to rename this, but this is like rules I always want to adjust for all my apps. And there is file naming, which I not agree with. There is interfaces must start with a capital I from the LinterCop. I don't agree with this either. And then there are PTEs, internals visible to should not be used as a security feature. Well, I do not use it as a security feature. I use it for my test apps. And this is in the PTE and in the AppSource app cop. And then unknown application areas. I use this for feature flags, so I cannot work with that rule either. And then PTE has the base rule set included, so it builds on top of the base rule set. And then, as you can see, there are AppSource rules which I disable in the PTE rule set, because I want to use all the cops all the time for all the projects. So I do not care about the manifest things for AppSource, the warnings, as much. I use the AppSource in the partner range. I most often don't need translations. And this is, yeah, a linter rule I disabled for PTEs. And then for AppSource, the other way around, I need to adjust the PTE rules a little bit here, because otherwise it complains. I promoted this access property to warning for AppSource apps, and so on. So this is the configuration, and this enables me to work with all the linters, and we will enable them in a minute here. And then if you have project-specific rules, you can still put them in here. But the idea is to not, like if you're working on a project and there might be new rule in the linter, or might be new rules in the app, in the Microsoft Cops, you adjust the base rule sets once, and then it will apply to all the repositories depending on the level you need to adjust this to. And yeah, you can just put this on GitHub, and you can somewhere here grab the raw file and just use this URL, and it works. The important part is for ALGO, in order to have this working, is you need to have this setting, enable external rule sets. And then in the workspace, you obviously also need to adjust this this setting. 1 second, I need to find it. You need to have this. And I usually do the workspace settings, but you can also do folder settings if you prefer that. And here it's important to use the parent directory, because the settings will be applied as if we were in the folder here. So it needs to grab it from the parent folder. And please, if you're using Windows, I know this is working, but it breaks everyone who's not using Windows. So just please use the // on Windows as well. It works without any problems, and it doesn't break others. So in case you didn't know, this is how you do it. Now let's also add the rules, the code analyzers themselves. As I said, CodeCop, UICop, patent extension cop, AppSource cop, and I also use the LinterCop. If you have custom analyzers, you also put them in here. Then it's important to have to enable code analyzers. You want to have, wait a second. You want to have either the background code analysis either to project or to file, depending on how you prefer. I usually like to have all files analyzed at the same time. If you're using it, if you're working on bigger projects, you might want to set this to file instead. And then I think that's what I usually do for the workspace settings. Let's go back for a second to the ALGO settings. Those. If you're doing if you want to deploy, you need to define environments in here. This is also what I usually do at the beginning. This would be whatever my Q&A and prod, like this. And if you set them up like this, you need to have the deploy to parameters as settings as well. So this would be deployed to, and then you need to grab the name from the environment. So this would be QA. And this is an object. And we need to set the environment name. This lets you define the, like, you can have the name of the environment in here be different than the actual environment name at the customer. And let me just copy this as well. Continuous deployment, whether you want to, and this is interesting because it will be different depending on the environment type. So if I want to do prod here, and this might be an example where production is actually called production. And for production, you definitely want to have the continuous deployment set to false. But for QA or for dev or whatever, you might want to set it to true. And this defines that whenever a successful build runs on the main branch, it will then deploy this to the environments which have continuous deployment set to true. Okay, that's that. Now, I have a few more things. When you do AppSource cop, you need to have a file called AppSource.json, and this needs to have the mandatory affixes, otherwise the AppSource cop won't work. So this is important. And let's see, is there anything else I'm usually setting? Let's open up the workspace and check if there is something else, or if it's already working. Okay, we're missing symbols. I've prepared a container on Alpaca. Create LaunchJSON. Copy password. We have, okay. Yes. Cool. Didn't see that feature yet, so that has to be new. But it seems to be working. All right. Now you already see this warning is coming from the AppSource cop. It doesn't work with the PTE cop. For some reason, not like some warnings work where with the affix, like the missing affix stuff, but not for all of them. So that's one example why I want to have the AppSource cop also in use for PTEs, and the other way around. There are also rules in the PTE cop that are not existing in the AppSource cop, which are really useful. Then let's just rename the current file. There we go. And there's just some cleaning up, but now this works already. We have all the cops enabled. And the settings seems to be good. So now let's commit this. Clean settings and clean up. Oh, one thing. And there should also be a warning for this. For some reason, I mean, this is also interesting. We're now at PC 24. So for some reason, the template didn't update. And it's really important to set the runtime explicitly. I think it's 13.1 or something. Let's do 13.0. If you're not setting the runtime, it's just like with the next major pipelines and everything, it will use the runtime for the target I think, and then stuff just breaks. So set it explicitly with the application version you're depending on, and then you shouldn't have a problem. That's also really important. Okay, let's commit this. Oh yeah. This one and this one. Okay, and now you see, oh, there is the C. No, it's not. Okay, this didn't kick off a CI/CD. I don't know why, but now that I adjusted the settings, it did. And now we can see this running. There are still a few settings I like to do in for my ALGO projects, and I have them usually at the company level. Now we do not have a company here, so let me just show them to you real quick. And this is a setting. Let's go to we have the template here. Yes, and you might also change the README. I usually don't bother with it because I don't need it, but yeah, you totally can. And I'm not sure whether this was a scenario or this doesn't help. Oh, here. Yep. This is the stuff. You can do an ALGOORGSETTINGS as a variable, and I'll show you this in here, because projects themselves can also have variables. So I still need to explain the secrets. Okay, so this would be a variable with that name. So let's copy that. No, not environment. Variables. Repository variable. Here we go. And this is a JSON object. So let's just add this for now. And in opposite to secrets, variables you can edit at any time. Okay, so let's just, I need to clean this up a little bit. 1 second. Okay. Let's do here, because this is better for reading JSON. Format document a little bit. All right. So I have those settings. Those are all the settings I have at organization level applied to all my repositories. I'm running everything that can on Ubuntu because it's faster and cheaper. For the actual builds, I have a self-hosted runner, so this is important. Then I have CodeCop, UICop, AppSource Cop, like those default to be enabled at all repositories. And I should add the pretend extension cop as well, now that I think about it. There is a schedule to update the file system regularly, so there is an action. Update ALGO system files, which will pull the latest versions from Microsoft for the ALGO system files, the pipelines and everything. And then schedules for major, minor, and current. I have a cache keep days set to 8. This will influence how long the symbols and everything will be kept on the runner. If you're not using your own runner, this doesn't really matter. Also the artifact, I've set this to weekly, so it doesn't use always the very latest, but on a weekly basis. This is to improve the runtimes of the pipelines. File6 file is set to preview because I'm using the preview LinterCop by default, so it doesn't it works with the compiler and everything. So you can have customCodeCops, which is an array of direct download URLs. And this is the LinterCop release latest download. Then I have app dependencies. I often use the spare brand licensing, so I have this set up as a dependency probing path, and then I also have like everything I have as external dependencies. I've added this into a repository as releases, so the pipelines can grab the external dependencies, like the runtime packages, from there as needed. Yep, so we don't need those for this example. Custom, the rest is probably okay. Yeah, and we don't do self-hosted for this example. So let's put this in here, update variable. Right, and then this is done. Now for the deployment to be working, you need some secrets as well. You need a GitHub token workflow, which is it explained here? Probably somewhere it has to be explained. GitHub token workflow secret name. I just used the default one, so I don't have to keep the secret around. And this is to be used to update the ALGO system files and stuff. So yeah, I cannot add this right now on stream because then you will have my secret. But it basically looks like this. You just go into here or into the like the organization secrets, then it will apply to all the repositories. This is the better way to go. There you just add the name, and then you go to settings. There is settings somewhere, and there you find the secret, and then you can create a new secret. And I think Freddy explained what kind of permissions it needs, so you can just read up there. This is necessary. And then let me go back so I can give you the other secrets to create the deployment. The other secrets are auth contacts. So this is this maps to the deployment names you set in here. So the environment names _ auth context is important to define how the pipeline should authenticate in the samples. Sorry. And let's go back here. Environment name _ auth context. Yeah, deploy to. And I wanted to see whether there is somewhere an explanation on how to generate those. Yeah, here you go. This is the template. The tenant ID, the client ID, client secret. So when you do the service to service authentication, so this is the template you need to use as for the client secret in the auth context, and then the pipeline will just be able to authenticate through the service to service authentication to that environment, and then the deployment will just work. And I think, let's see how that's going. So that's building. It will take a moment to finish, but it should totally work. And I think that's everything. Let's check out if there are any comments or questions so far. Doesn't seem so. Okay. And from there, actual work can start, and yeah, development can start. Maybe one thing, whenever that's done and you want to deploy to production, what I do is I go here and say create release. And I always forget to grab this. We do not have an app file in here yet. We would need to wait for the next one to finish. You need to grab the version from that app file for some reason. Or maybe you can even create your own version. But I usually grab the version from the app file. I give it a name, and I usually go with the current date backwards like this. And then this would be whatever app version we have, but just three versions. Like the what is it, revision? You need to omit the revision, the fourth one, because it doesn't work. I don't know why, but okay. And then I do not do pre-release, I do not do draft. I create a release branch for every production release, so I can later do hotfixes. And then I usually increase by 0.1. So the next one will be 1.1, and then I'll continue, and I do direct commit. And this will create a branch. This will create a release for me, attach the app files into the release, and then I can do publish to environment, which is which accepts current pre-release, draft, latest, or version number. I usually either do current, which is the current release. This is important. I think there is somewhere documentation on this, but I don't know. The current release. And then, as it explains here, star for all. You can do star for all. It will deploy to all environments. If there is a newer version released to the environment already, it will, or the current, like the same or greater, then it will just skip. So it works with QA and dev, might possibly be ahead of the release. But you can also do like prod star, or just name it exactly like it's named in your settings file. But you also can do latest if you want to, like if you have a QA environment which is not continuously updated, but you want to sometimes push the latest changes from the main branch, you do latest instead of current, but then be careful to not push this to production. Yeah, and that's, yeah, and then if you, like I said that I will create branches for hotfixes. So if you create a release branch, you can then later on, if you need to hotfix, you can cherry pick onto the release branch. It will kick off builds on that release branch. You're seeing this is running on main. If you're doing release branches and cherry pick onto them, push those changes, they will also compile in here. And then you can create a new release. And then what you can do is you can just switch the branch to the release branch, type in the correct version, everything again. Do not create a new release branch, and then we'll create a new release or on that release branch, which you then can also publish by just switching the branch up here. I think for publish you don't even need to switch. It will like the current is still a current release, and then it will just grab that version correctly. So that's how I do hotfixes. All right. So it started with rule sets, but it was more like ALGO walkthrough, I think. But maybe that's helpful. Again, I will put the links into the description. That's everything I had to show for today. If there are any questions afterwards, let me know in the comments below, and feel free to follow and subscribe and everything if you don't want to miss the streams. as I explained before multiple times already, I try to do those whenever it works, fits into my schedule, and I have something that I can show that might be useful. And I try to answer all the questions if there are any. So, yeah. Have a good one and see you next time.